Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your award-winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We are back for our second show of the week as we build up to Tottenham Hotspur returning back to Premier League action against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. How much do we all need a win in the Premier League, of course, to keep alive the top four running? Could be top five, depending, of course, on the coefficiency. I've got a panel that are definitely going to fill you with hope, optimism and spirit. Spurs are still very much having a season alive. We had the wonderful, I've got to say, John Grecian join me and Lee on Monday night, which I know many were calling the therapy session they needed to give them the hope and optimism that this season is very much still on track. And Ange, look, we're in the middle of a project, as we said, and it's an exciting one. And again, he did tell us that second season where it really gets going. That first season is really putting the furniture out there to analyse and see where things are going. We're not doing the same with the team because they are firmly in terms of we know the furniture here, but we've got a debutant joining us tonight as well. But bringing us to life is the constructor, the conductor, the runner of this epic, crazy train. Lee McQueen's back alongside me, back to back. Macca, how are you, my man?
Yeah, I'm loving it, mate. I'm in a very good mood actually. I've had a good day in the in the world of business today, and also a good day with Spurs because actually I'm looking at some of the stats. You've got some outstanding blow your mind blue book stats tonight, yeah, it's looking rosy. I mean, I've got to be honest with you. I thought John was absolutely brilliant on the show on Monday, Rick with us, and if you haven't read it, go and buy Revolution. About Ange Postecoglou. The insight that John has is unbelievable, and it just really filled me back with some hope that just because we did struggle, it was a bad performance against Wolves, doesn't mean to say that that's going to be the case. And actually, there's a lot of really good comments on the show as well about it's a long term and we are where we are and we're going to build. And one of our own, Christina, always says it. It's almost like a free hit, isn't it? This season for Ange to get his feet under the table, and what a free hit it is. We're chasing top four, and it could finish very, very well. We've got some really strong, hard fixtures that we're going to get into across April. And let's relish it. Let's look forward to that. Let's not dread it. Let's relish it and get involved because it could be like that Peter Crouch moment all them years ago again, and I'm up for that.
It's interesting. Again, April, you said there, Lee, that is a real, as we've already seen already, some of the fixtures coming towards us here. We've seen Newcastle on a 12:30 away at St James's Park. I mean,
yeah, that's
who really wants Newcastle away at 12:30?
That's better than being under the lights in it at 8 p.m.
Possibly.
on Monday night.
Yeah, I mean maybe that
last year, didn't we?
Maybe that could work to our advantage. It could work to our advantage. You're right.
Travel-wise and whatever, absolute nightmare. Totally get that. But actually, from a performance point of view, let's have it right. Newcastle ain't on great form at the moment, are they? Let's be brutally honest about it. So we'll see where we go on that.
And again, obviously, given the FA Cup draw, depending on where those games fall, as Jason always says, European competition, cup competitions make a massive difference in terms of how those fixtures are affected. Now, we've got the Battle of the Spurs shirts tonight here. Me and Lee are not donning. Oh, no, I won't lie. Lee's donning some form of Spurs material there, proudly. But Patrick Tyrant's gone retro. Chatty Patty, my man, how are you, my man? Lovely to have you back on. You well, Pat?
Sorry, I'm on.
Nearly got you there.
I messed up. I was trying to show the shirt off, and then I forgot to unmute myself. But yeah, no, I'm good, man. I'm good. It feels like I haven't been on it in ages, which is quite odd because I've been on obviously all the other platforms, but because of the home and away games kind of thing, it's messed me up. But yeah, I'm good, and it's great to be on it with Bob as well. And I was saying backstage. It's mad because the accent it throws me off. It's so cool, but when I speak to Bob on all the socials, I forget that he's Irish. So it's really cool to hear Spurs fans from all over the world, and it's great that we're all mixing it up and collabing and coming together for the love of Tottenham. It's great, man. It's great.
You should have kept that suspense up there, Pat. Now everyone's eager. What's Bob sound like? What does he sound like?
Well, put on a different accent, mate.
Bob's got to completely change now. I'm going completely AWOL for the podcast. Look, been a pleasure to welcome Bob Dwyer to Last Word on Spurs. I've had the pleasure of knowing Bob for a good couple of years or so. I saw Bob, my first meeting with him was obviously before the Arsenal game in Beavertown. Obviously that 3-0 where, I think before that game, all of us knew we was never going to lose that game. You fast forward a year later, I think everyone knew we were going to lose the game after, unfortunately, with Conte in charge for the second, obviously, stint with him. But Bob, Love to be on Last Word on Spurs, my man. How are you?
Yeah, great to be here. Great to be here. I was saying to you there during the week, Ricky, make my debut. I have the leadership group around me, the Last Word of Spurs leadership group around me. I have the big man at the back and Lee McQueen and Christian Romero. I have Patrick Tyrant, I'm saying the Sonny through the middle, bang a few goals in, and Ricky dropping into the pocket as the James Maddison. So no, great to be here. Really looking forward to it. And yeah, we were saying, I suppose, look, we were saying kind of before we came on about kind of the end of the season that we should be looking forward to it. I think if it wasn't for this really strong start that we had, which, it was unbelievable. We can all say that. If it wasn't for that and we were trying to, we were just coming into form now, we'd all be excited. But yeah, we've had a bit of a patchy few months. But now it's time to get behind and enjoy the last third of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think, again, I think you, Bob, you said in the green room that if you switch the season around and we were going through, that start we had, the unbeaten in 10 now, what a buzz we'd feel going into the final course of the season. But I mean, where we are at the moment, don't get me wrong, I think everyone feels there's still a lot to play for. I mean, of course, Tottenham European football. I think we've seen the impact it's had on Spurs not having it this season by the fact that it has been feeling like such a short season and the real need to give players game time. And again, the good thing I think for Tottenham is having that extra week off. Not only have we seen Chelsea being beaten in the cup final, but it has given Ange another week on the training ground with the players, which arguably after Wolves, you really could have said Spurs needed, because I think all of us had that feeling that, if we had Udogie and Porra in that game, it might have been a different story. We know it's all about two players, but I think ultimately there's still a lot of work to be done. I think Ange ignored the fact that there will be results during the season that will go for us, won't go for us. And ultimately, as we alluded to on Monday night with John, and Maka was there, that he's working out really those players that are for him, that aren't for him. And really their second season is where ultimately there'll be maybe possible judgments made. But we are only just getting started. And again, Spurs are in a decent position league-wise. And, despite Spurs not playing, it has still been a very, very busy week in terms of off the pitch. Now, starting on what, again, always on social media, does really bring it to a fore with injuries and the nature of those players being injured. We have to start with the sad news. Or I call it sad. I think the sad news about Ryan Sessegnon, who has now had to undergo surgery after yet another injury setback. So the Spurs defender is set for another stint on the sidelines. We understand it'll be in the region of 3 months or so, which does make it very difficult, you feel, for him to appear in a Spurs shirt again this season. That's on the back of having an operation on I believe the right hamstring after picking up an injury whilst playing for the under-21s. Now, Sessegnon has been troubled by muscle injuries, as we know, for a long, long period. He had an operation on his left hamstring in the first week of pre-season, and it now turns out that he's had a similar issue with the right-hand side. So I think Spurs and obviously Ryan have come together to believe, look, if they try and sort the right hand or right side of his hamstring out, then hopefully that will be both legs tightened, and whatever that comes to Ryan in the future, we'll see. But I think the sad thing, obviously, we see with social media is that Ryan Sessegnon himself had to put out a statement saying, look, I've been down this road before. I'll pick myself up, stay headstrong, begin my recovery the best way possible. And he went on to say, look, having been through an operation and recovery on my other hamstring last year, knowing how strong that hamstring is, I know this is the best solution for me. But I want to say, speaking on behalf of anyone who's been in this situation, please be careful what you say online. Words hurt, and no one chooses to be in this position. Now, I think, again, I'm not saying all fans feel this, but some fans feel as a footballer, they're still getting their money, they're still getting paid, but only being a footballer, they want to play football. So, I mean, anyone more frustrated and more angry about the situation than Ryan Sessegnon? And Lee, to bring you in, I mean, look, the guy just hasn't really ever got going in a Spurs shirt. It has been so far, reign at Spurs, really, really, every time a setback for injury that hasn't really allowed us to see the best of Ryan. I'm sure he'll feel similar. What's your taking it for you, Lee, this later setback in Ryan's development at Tottenham?
I think he should be sold. He's useless. Look at that. Look at that. Of course. Look, I mean, that's the sort of response you get from, shall we say, less empathetic people on social media, and it's absolutely ridiculous. The fair play for Ryan to come out and make that statement. It's a shame that he has to make that statement, but nonetheless, he has to. And look, you just got to wish him all as well. I mean, what's quite strange about the whole situation is it seems like Ryan Sessegnon has been around for years. I think this is his final year of his Spurs contract. We signed a 5-year contract. He's only 23.
Yep.
So, you know, if these hamstring problems, look, he's always had issues with his hamstring since he's been at Tottenham. Like you just said, he's never really kind of got going. He scored a brilliant goal, didn't he, against Bayern Munich, which essentially counted for nothing. He's been getting smashed, didn't we, 7-2 or whatever it was, and a couple of flashes of that brilliance. But he's never really been the Ryan Sessegnon from the Fulham days, the one that we actually thought we were buying for, you know, a teenager back then for £30 million is a lot of money. But I do feel for him. I mean, obviously, all jokes aside, of course I feel for him. You know, that is all he wants to do is play football. He doesn't choose to be injured. It's not as if he's like, what was that Chelsea player back in the day that basically got paid £100,000 a week and literally just sat on the bench and just loved the fact that he wasn't playing. I can't remember.
Bakayoko.
Yeah, was it him? Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is, though, Mac are on that. There's about 7 of them now that are doing that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But Sessegnon is not like that at all, right? And that's the reality. He just wants to play football. He wants to play. He wants to do his best. He wants to repay the club for showing faith in him and spending that money. And he just can't. He just can't do it. He just can't get fit. And it's a real shame as well, because I don't think any of us, since he's been a Tottenham player, and this is the wider football network, not just Spurs fans, I don't think we've ever seen a sustained period from him that allows any of us to, or enables any of us to go, he's brilliant. Let's get him back. So some of the fans that knee jerk and sort of just get rid of it, being the guy that I was at the beginning, get rid of him, he's rubbish or whatever. It's not about being what's the word I'm looking for? It's not about being soft when you have empathy for somebody else. That's just being human at the end of the day. He is human. He is a footballer as well. We wish him the best. We hope that he gets fit. And look, let's be honest about it. If he got fit and was absolutely brilliant, showed all the promise that he could be, we'd all love it, wouldn't we? We'd all be getting 19 Sessegnon on the back of our shirt. So, wish him well. But unfortunately, he's not going to play again this season, is he? Let's be honest, because I think he's out between 8 to 12 weeks or whatever. So he's probably not going to get a game. Then it's going to be a case of him trying to get fit again in the pre-season. And who knows, Rick? He's had a mediocre, could I say that? A mediocre loan move, didn't he? At Hoffenheim, I think it was, a couple of seasons ago. Maybe he just needs to, does need to kind of go somewhere else, even if it's on loan, just to get fit. But look, the first foremost that he needs to be fit, he needs to get injury free, and we wish him the best, mate.
We most certainly do. We do. I mean, Patty, come around to you. I mean, look, you think back to the time he was signed from Fulham in 2019. I just made his comeback recently to the first team. Come was that late sub in the FA Cup third round win over Burnley, where I think many were hoping for him, of course, there would be the opportunity to really kick on and show Andrew really what he's like as a player. He's obviously not had that opportunity to do so. I mean, Lee brought up his contractual situation there. His current contract is expected to expire in 2025, but it's unclear whether that will be extended by Postecoglou beyond this date. I mean, Pat being, I want to say brutal, but being really cold about the situation to some degree, is it time, Pat, that we look to try and move the guy on? Because, we have to have players that are essentially available, fit to play in our system. And given the fact that we obviously saw Reguilon go out on loan, which kind of say I still feel that was the right decision. I've seen some takes during the last couple of weeks suggesting we should have kept Reguilon. I've got to be able to say, if people have watched Reguilon in a Spurs shirt, then I think that was enough to make you understand that he wouldn't have been good enough for Tottenham, in my opinion. And I think, again, you've seen his recent appearances for Brentford. I think, again, that should make your mind up even further. But, Pat, what does the future hold for Sessegnon once he does, obviously, of course, recover? Can you see him getting another opportunity in the Spurs shirt?
You know what? The Sessegnon one's a crazy one because, obviously, right now, he's really frustrating, and pretty much we're all probably of the same mind that we need, he needs to get gone, and we should get rid and all of that stuff. But if I take it back to when, I loved Ryan Sessegnon at Fulham. I thought he was amazing. And if we take it back to the beginning of, we signed him as a 19-year-old wonder kid. So this guy was born on, in 2000. We signed him when he was 19, because his birthday's on the 18th of May. Just to put it into context, he was the Championship Player of the Season, not young player of the season at 17 years old. So he was balling out of control. He had 14 goals in 39 Championship appearances, predominantly playing as a winger, but they played him up front. They played him as a fullback. He literally was a utility, fantastic young player. We were after him for a while, and we signed him obviously in the summer of 2019 for basically 24 million. He had the world at his feet. A lot of rivals were jealous when we signed him. The guy literally looked like he was going to be a killer. And again, to put it into context, he beat James Maddison at Norwich at the time and Ruben Neves at Wolves for Young Player of the Season. Like, the guy was immense. He was in the Championship team of the season. Like, we literally thought we had signed a gem. And then for whatever reason, I say whatever reason, the injuries are the reason why his career has taken the turn that it's taken. And it's a shame, man, because, we signed him on a 6-year deal as well, by the way. We signed him in 2019. His deal ends next year, 2025. So it just goes to show the faith that we had in him. And we thought we had signed a gem, a superstar and all of that stuff. And it's just not worked out. And it's a big shame. Now, when you take out obviously the sentiment and you just look at the performances, the fact that you can't get on the pitch, the fact that he keeps breaking down, naturally you're going to say he needs to go. And it's true. If we're trying to be a team that is trying to at least compete for top 4 and really push on, then we don't have time to carry passengers. And it's a shame, man, because the kid had the whole world at his feet and he had so much potential. But sometimes football is a brutal industry and it is a business as well. And he's an asset that literally is decreasing in value every second of the day. He can't get on the pitch. He's breaking down in under 21s. When he does play, he looks a shell of himself. When I watched him at Fulham, he used to beat his man, take his man on. He could score goals. He could do so much. He's doing nothing when he's in a Spurs shirt, unfortunately. Yeah. And it might sound a bit harsh, but it's just the brutal reality of modern day football. Sometimes people just aren't cut out to be, athletes at the top level. And sometimes they say availability is the best ability. So even when you look at someone like a Højbjerg or a Skip, they may not be your ideal profile of a player. You might not look at them and enjoy what they do on the pitch, but at least these guys are available. Someone like Heung-min Son, touch wood, he carries knocks and niggles, but the guy's literally always available. And sometimes you also have to add how valuable that is when you're, in crunch time, business end of the season, squeaky bum time. You need your best players available. And Sessegnon's never really allowed us to have a real look at him because he's never had a good stretch or a good run. So to this day, I don't know how good he is or how good he could have been. But reality is, 1 year left on his contract. He's got to go, man. So it's a big shame, Ricky, man. It's a big shame because, I generally was so excited when we signed him. I thought he was going to be an amazing asset to the team. And it's just not happened, He's a twin brother. He's got a brother as well. And obviously we signed a better player. And there was a lot of talks the season before if we signed Ryan Sessegnon, would we sign his brother and all of this. Do you remember? Do you remember all of that?
Yeah.
Clearly, because I was so into this guy. I thought he was going to be fucking fantastic for us. And I know this is like 5 years down the line. We forget all of this. And sometimes it just goes to show, we can really want a player and really, we need to get him. And then when we do sign him, look what happens. So it's a big shame, man. I am gutted for him. I really am. And there's been so many times I'm at the stadium and you see him limping off and walking off and you see he's not right. Yeah, I just don't know what he does going forward. Does he call it a day? But he's only 23. How can you retire at 23? Do you know what I mean? But then also, if he's being honest with himself, his body's just not cutting it. I don't know if he needs to refine his diet, if he needs to change his regime. But then he's got the best people all around him. I'm sure they've already had these discussions. So I don't. It's mad. It's mad. At 23 years old, this guy's just can't get on a football pitch. It's insane. But obviously, I don't want to go on forever. But yeah, it's a big shame. But us as a football team, as Spurs fans, I want what's best for Tottenham. And unfortunately, he doesn't cut it, man.
Pat, a lot of honesty there, and a lot of what you said there, bringing you in, Bob. Again, when you put it in those terms there, Pat, it's a guy that was, of course, player of the season in the Championship, a guy that at the time, Bob, if you cast your mind back, as Pat said there, we were not the only club in from it. It was seen as a bit of a coup for Tottenham to get this guy. I think Man United was showing interest at the time, Liverpool as well. I think Chelsea was sniffing around. So how gutting is it as well for the player that we just haven't seen the best of him, Bob? And where do you stand in terms of the player's future at Tottenham for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, from I suppose, a human point of view, look, we're all guilty of saying stuff on social media. I'm sure if you went through my tweets, you might find some joke about him and Anderton. Look, we're all guilty of it. But the fans who are shouting for him to get out of our club and say, we're the same fans who a few, when we were signing him, were shouting, saying, Levy, get the checkbook out, get the check, get this one done. And now they're shouting him to get out of the club. People need to be more mindful of that. From a point of view of him as a player, look, as it's been mentioned a few times, he's only 23. I'm not comparing him at all to Gareth Bale, but I'm about to. No, I'm not. But if you think about the start Gareth Bale had at Spurs, that game at San Siro, he was 21.
Yep.
I'm not saying, look, before people come at me saying, or this gets clipped or something, I'm not doing that. I'm saying he's still a very young player. What I would worry about from his point of view, he started playing elite level football with men at 16. He had 120 games for Fulham before he came to us. That has to take its toll when you're at that age. And look, all bodies are built differently. So, you could say, oh, well, Rooney did it grand. Completely different build, completely different positions. Rooney's game wasn't built on pace, neither was Milner, whereas Sessegnon probably sprinting up and down that left side for almost 10 years at this stage. Then, I suppose the questions we have to ask ourselves is he a better option than Ben Davies as a backup left back for us? If he's fit, 100%. I think the awkward thing is, kind of look, I've taken a few things down about him today, is the fact he only has a year left in his contract. If he had 2 years left, you could say to him, look, Ryan, get yourself fit, get your surgery like needed. Like we saw at Richie at the start of the season, needed surgery, took the time out, got the surgery and came back a different player.
Yep.
Go get the surgery, come back next season, get a pre-season, maybe get loaned out to another Premier League team. Maybe get a Leicester, they're coming up. He'd be perfect for a team who's just coming up. Find your form, see if you can make it. You have a year left then when you get back to Spurs, as opposed to coming back from a loan and then being released. I think that's a little bit awkward, but I appreciate I haven't really given an answer here. I'm kind of going around in circles. Do I think he has a future at Spurs? If he can stay fit, yes. Do I think he can stay fit? Fucking hell, who knows? Are we after 9 o'clock? Yeah, we are. Who knows? But there's obviously quality there. And as I said, most of our fan base are shouting at Levy to sign and get it over the line. And now they're shouting at him to get out of the club, which isn't nice to see. But like he's definitely a better option than what we have, I think, at the moment. Like I could see him playing that inverted left full role for Spurs on a League Cup game. Ricky, not to go out in the League Cup game with our second string, but just being that option as opposed to having played Emerson on that side or flipping Emerson that side or throwing Ben Davies in. And then if he is to leave, sorry, actually, before I go to that, I have a note here. I wonder Conte's fitness training, what impact that had on a player like Sessegnon. We saw him during pre-season last season, running up and down and up and down and up and down those pitches and doing those lengths of pitches. Yep. Conte, works them like animals or dogs or whatever he said. Yep. For a player who has had injuries in the past, especially hamstring injuries, what impact has that had on them? And then my next point is what is his level? I said, we're playing Palace this weekend. I think Crystal Palace would be a great move for him if he could stay fit.
Bob, you make a lot of points there that I do totally agree with. And I think, the key aspect is, and you make that really, really, I think really important one there, Macca, coming to you, is that the fact that he's only got, of course, the year left. And I think Bob's right in the fact that if it was 2 or 3, then ultimately we've got more time to make a decision. But in the cutthroat market that we're in now, the nature of the fact that it is a results-based business, and I think someone there put it in the comments as we're doing the show that, availability is sometimes actually more important than the actual general, not saying the ability of a player, but, the thing about Davies that I know maybe frustrates a lot of people is maybe taking the ability away from it. His availability, Davies is very rarely injured. And that's what's made a lot of these players like Højbjerg, get minutes because they are there, they're able to come in. And I do wonder, Lee, for Ryan, whether he'll get the opportunity, under Ange's reign to really perform, because ultimately you've got to be available. and with the way of the nature of our fullbacks, the way they do bomb on under Ange, that in itself was a very demanding job, probably more than what it was under Conte, under Mourinho, and maybe do the same to the degree of Pochettino. So is it just a case, Lee, that he needs a fresh start for his own career, Macca?
Maybe. I mean, I touched upon that in my monologue on him at the beginning. I think maybe, but I think it's a process now, isn't it? He's got to get fit mentally. He's got to get his head around the fact that he's just broken down again. He's had the same issue on the other hamstring. He knows how to get through it. He said that in his statement. He's now going to have to prepare himself to go and do that again. Get yourself fit, get yourself working, get yourself being able to play football again, and then see what happens. You know, who knows where we'll be at that point? We might be out of all the cups, Rick, and you know, relegation fodder in Ange's second season, or we might be absolutely flying and like 15 points good at the top of the league. You know, to be fair, a fully fit Cesc probably don't even get nowhere near that team. So, you know, it's I think it just let the circumstance. What he's got to worry about for him and for us is that as football fans, I do agree. And like I said, you don't have to be. I don't think you're being harsh at all, by the way, Patrick. You know, saying that we need to move him on, but it's just the way some people say, "Get him out, effing club. He's effing useless." That's not the case. The bloke's injured. So look, fair play to him. He's injured. Wish him all the best. Yeah. But from our fans' perspective, we just got to focus on the fact that we're not going to see him playing a Spurs shirt again this season. So what are our options? And then from his point of view, he's got to get himself fit, get himself playing again, and then he can see. You know, what brings. But you know, if history plays a part in all of this, you would probably suggest that he will need to move on. I mean, look at Dele Alli. You know, Dele, you know, different scenario, but you know, mentally or physically, you know, he's still not fit to play football or hasn't been fit to play football. And he was an absolute baller for us, and we did get the best out of Dele before, and then he dropped off a cliff because of his injuries and his issues and his problems. And you'd have to check this, but I bet Dele's only 27. I bet you could look at. He's probably got the best years in front of him, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah. So that's my view on it. Look, I wish him the best. I don't want to speak ill of him, and I want him to get fit. Do I want to give him another 5-year contract? No.
Listen, I think rightly so. Look, we wish Ryan all the very, very best in his recovery, and we'll see what comes of that. I mean, again, King Hoddle making that point.
Yeah, King Hoddle.
57 games played in 5 seasons. I mean, again, that really illustrates, really, I mean, how...
season.
Yeah, how can you keep a player on that basis? But listen, we wish Ryan all the best, and we'll keep you updated, obviously, with his development across the next couple of months as to what happens with him. In terms of a positive injury update for Tottenham, Destiny Udogie is back with the first team. Of course, a huge part of the team's, obviously, success so far under Ange in terms of when they are playing at a fairly decent level. Obviously, Ange said in the previous game in the presser afterwards that the injury he picked up wasn't anything too serious and hinted he could be back, of course, for Crystal Palace. And from the photo from the club published on their X account, Udogie could be seen beaming a smile as he was photographed inside with Emerson Royale standing just over his shoulder. Clearly, again, a positive sign for Spurs. Udogie, of course, back in the side. We'll wait to see, of course, with Pedro Porro, what happens. As the time of this recording, we're yet to see anything published in terms of him back in training. But again, we are only the Wednesday here we're recording, and hopefully more will come later in the week. Guys, do want to turn our attention to the top 4 battle. Could be the top 4 or top 5 battle, depending on the coefficiency and how that works out. I mean, I must point that out there. The latest coefficiency update had England place 3rd in the rankings, which of course would mean we will not get an extra Champions League place, and therefore it will only, of course, go down to the top 4 places in terms of trying to ascertain Champions League football. Now, at the moment, of course, Spurs sit 5th in the table. Aston Villa have built a buffer over Tottenham in this last week or so, following Spurs' lack of a Premier League game, following Chelsea's participation in the Carabao Cup final. So Villa currently moving 5 points clear of Spurs as a result of their win over Nottingham Forest. And the good news for Tottenham over last week was the fact Manchester United didn't build any further ground on us. Spurs have still got that 3-point gap going into the weekend's matches, following United's home defeat to Fulham. I think Spurs can take heart from the fact United are so inconsistent that really at the moment, you know, it's hard to see them showing that consistency to really battle with us. But again, don't want to put the knockers on it. As we know, we're still 11, 12, 13 games away here, and Tottenham need to focus on doing their job. But you know what, guys, when you look at Spurs' fixtures to come, which I think is very, very key to this running for Tottenham, this is a real good opportunity now to build a head of steam. I know we said this, of course, when we had the 3 home games in a row, but you look at Spurs' next set of Premier League fixtures to come. Palace at home, Villa away. Look, we know Villa away is always going to be very, very tough. I mean, that's the one that many will feel like is a bit of a Euro decider. Whoever wins that, you feel will have the momentum to go on for the rest, of course, of the season. Fulham away, Luton Town at home, West Ham away, Forest at home. Now, look, on paper for Tottenham, it does look fairly favourable in terms of those games coming up. They're only taking on 2 teams in the top half in their upcoming 6 games. So a real genuine opportunity to build points. Pat, I'll start with you. Where in your mind, Pat, are we in terms of this top 4 battle? And how do you feel in terms of confidence levels going into what we have to now call the business stage of the season? Palace up first, that we'll be discussing shortly. But top 4 race, where are we, Pat, in your mind?
To be fair, the table doesn't lie after this amount of games. And, you know, Villa, annoyingly, are a really good team. And they're consistent. And, you know, they dropped a clanger in the cup against Chelsea. And obviously they got beat by Man United. But then they're straight back at it. And the thing about Villa is they score a lot of goals. They've got really good forward players that are clicking and doing well. Ollie Watkins is on 10 assists, which is unheard of for a striker. And it's going under the radar. Then you've got, obviously, other guys chipping in. And they're a good team, man. A very, very good team. Douglas Luiz is mustered in the middle of the park. And then they've got workhorses in your McGinns. And, you know, they've got a good, solid unit. And Unai Emery, a very underrated manager who's won pretty much everything in Europe. And he's come in and solidified that team. And, you know, they are our biggest threat. United, obviously, on paper, were right in it. But when I look at United, like you said, the consistency is probably where they were cutting off. And weirdly enough, United have been on a good run up until obviously that loss. They had won 4 in a row and then obviously they lost. But yeah, just when you look at United, even when they win their games, they're not really playing well. They just have 1 or 2 decent moments. But Villa when you watch Villa play, they're a solid team for pretty much most of the 90 minutes. You know, that game away at Villa Park will be a very tough one. And like you said, even though there's still so many games to go, momentum is a big thing in football, like you said, Vicky. And you probably feel whoever does get something out of that game will feel that will be like the push on, that impetus to then push on. Annoyingly as well, when we played Villa at home, we should have spanked them. We went in, obviously, at half-time without taking our chances. And then, annoyingly, West Ham and Villa, 2 games, literally, ironically, the same. Should have been home and dry by half-time. We weren't. Second half, they took their chances. We didn't. And we end up losing games where you're like, how the hell did you lose that? But now, you know, for me, obviously, we're banging the mix for top 4. Of course we are. We didn't play a game, so we're 5 points off. If we win our game on the weekend, well, the game in hand is against Chelsea. I don't know when they're going to fit that in. The only worry for me is when do they fit that in?
Patty, you know that's going to be thrown in April, don't you?
Yeah,
when you've got
exactly.
Liverpool and City.
Yeah,
I mean,
Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool back to back, and you know they're going to try and stuff it in there just to be, you know, I don't want to swear on there, but yeah, just to be. And
the problem is we're at the hands of the TV broadcasters, right? Which you've seen from the latest round of fixtures with Newcastle at 12:30. We don't really get much of a choice in this.
Yeah, they've messed us up big time. And you know, like you said, I mean, I wrote out all the fixtures and I literally color coded them as well. Top 5 fixtures, top 8 fixtures, and top 10. So, like, you know, your difficult games. And weirdly enough, Villa have got more difficult games than us.
Yeah.
Then we're second, and then it's Man United. But when you look at in terms of the top 5 teams that we got to play, we still got to play 4 teams in the top 5, where Villa have only got to play 4. And Man United have only got to play 3. So just, you know, to put it into context for the guys listening, we've got to play Villa away, obviously. That's coming up. That's on the horizon. We've got Man City at home, Arsenal at home, and Liverpool away. Villa have got Spurs at home. Obviously, that's us. They've got Man City away, Arsenal away, and Liverpool away. And then Man United have got Man City away, which is literally their next game. They've got Liverpool at home, and they've got Arsenal at home. You know, top 8 teams, as in your West Hams and your Brightons. Villa have got to play both of them. We've only got to play West Ham. and Man United have got to play Brighton last game of the season. And then when you take it down to top 10, which I know is a bit, but still, you know, a decent team, we've got to play Newcastle away. Villa have got to play Wolves at home, and Man United have got to play Newcastle at home. So to be fair, the fixtures are pretty even. I'd probably say Villa have the hardest run in, and then we've got the second hardest run in, and then Man United do. But games aren't won on paper. Games are won on the pitch. Games are won with how determined the players are going to be. Are they going to make silly mistakes? Are they going to, like Lee said, are they going to relish the moment? Are the fans going to relish these moments? These are big games. We should all be up for it, and the players should be up for it. You know, we've had a season where some of the players haven't been at their best in certain moments. As long as they don't make mistakes, and obviously everyone stays fit now, I don't see why we can't make top 4. I'm not relying on, you know, the other guys to do us a favour in Europe. I don't think they will. You know, Man United went out, Newcastle went out. We've got to then rely on Arsenal, which obviously we never want to rely on them. And we've got to rely on Aston Villa, a team that we obviously don't want to do well. And then we've also got to rely on possibly Brighton and West Ham and obviously Liverpool. And realistically, all of that is nonsense. I don't even want to see a 5th team in the Champions League. At the end of the day, they need to keep the prestige. And for me, 4 teams is enough. If you can't get in the top 4, you don't deserve to be in the Champions League. And if we're struggling to get 4, you know, I mean, it's no disrespect to Spurs. We are where we are in this moment of the project. Go into the Europa League and go in there seriously and try and win it. What's the point of being in the top 4 if you're scrambling and you just
totally agree. Patty, I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
You know, so you know, Champions League is great and it looks fantastic and the badge on the shirt looks good and all of that. But if you're going to be in it and you're struggling, and at the moment we can't keep a clean sheet to save our lives, and defensively we're still a bit. I'd rather be in the Europa League and go all out and win it.
Yeah,
that's my mentality. That's where I'm at.
You know what, Patty? It's an interesting point you make, because I mean, let's be honest about it. Since the actual, I would say, creation of the Europa League from the UEFA Cup, I mean, I think Spurs have really had a manager that's genuinely taken it seriously. You might say Mourinho, but again, many will just say, look, we lost to a manager that was in prison at the time of the way we went out of that competition. So I mean, how can we really say I think we had a 3-0 lead or something ridiculous from the first thing. I've tried to erase that.
I've tried to erase that. I can't remember who scored it, because like you said, I tried to wipe out my memory. But
yeah, I've not watched those highlights.
Insane. It was insane. Yeah, we got bantered. How can we lose? Yeah, sorry. It was crazy.
I'm just so glad that we weren't on YouTube at that time. Because I tell you what, that would have been. Can you imagine what that would have been like? 5,000 biting for blood on this show on a post-match. Macca trying to calm him down. I think Macca would have been actually going raging himself, because not Macca trying to calm him down. Bob, let me bring you in, my man. You know, Pat made a really good point about Villa's run. They've actually got Villa's, Pat alluded to that, and obviously for them, they've got coming up, obviously Spurs on the horizon, Man City away, Arsenal away, Brighton away, Liverpool at home. I tell you what, for Villa, that is a really, really tough set of fixtures to come.
Sorry, Ricky, just to interject as well, I didn't put it in there. Villa have also got to play Ajax home and away.
Yeah,
so that's another one.
And obviously the key Pat with that, with the way that Villa game falls with Tottenham, is we know, of course, Charlie Eccleshare mentioned this, that that first leg in that Europa League tie with Ajax will be played before playing Spurs, which again, when you put that into the melting pot, I mean, again, going to be tough. And as Jason always says on this show, Europe does have a defining factor in the build-up to the run-in. So, Bob, where are you in your mind in terms of this battle for the top 4?
Yeah, I'm with Patrick on the fact I prefer it to be 4 teams. And the reason for that is I think we're good enough to get 4th. And I'd want to keep the spending and buying power down of any other team. You know, I don't want Villa to have Champions League football and to be going into the market and going for the same players as us at their Champions League football, same with United. Now, earlier on when he said we'd be looking at United's fixtures, I have a list of Tottenham's, Villa's. I didn't even bother with United, so I don't see them. I think we're going to be 10 points clear by the end of the season for United.
Can I say one thing, Bob? I think what's reminded me here, Bob, they, at one moment, Spurs had an 11-point lead over United, which has now been trimmed down to 3. But I'm with you, my man. I mean, they are crazy in terms of their form, but let's hope it stays where it is in terms of that at the moment.
But yeah, look, I think we're, again, I did the thing when I took the fixtures down. I tried to compare and contrast. Looking at the fixtures we have, and I know you could say Chelsea's our game in a hand. I think that's kind of, I suppose, a false way of saying it, because they have to play Chelsea too. So we have 8 of the same fixtures. Of those, we have 5 of those at home, and Villa have 3 at home and 5 away. So we have the home advantage in the like-for-like fixtures. And yeah, like with, I suppose, look, we all know how big that Villa game is going to be. for everyone, especially Christian Romero and Matty Cash. So we'll see how that goes. But if we beat Villa, the games around it, you'd like to think we have enough to beat Palace, Villa, as I mentioned, Fulham away, Luton at home, West Ham and Forest. I would like to think we have enough to beat them. Us at our best certainly beat them. I know we can be up and down and we can be flaky with injuries and whatnot.
Yep.
But I definitely think we're good enough. So that gives us a bit of momentum coming into that big run of fixtures. And as we know, we have that Chelsea one to put in there too. But we've Newcastle away then, which I think that's a winnable game. Then we've City, the other share down the road, and then Liverpool, who'll be absolutely begging for blood against us. But if you notice our last two fixtures, we have Burnley at home, Sheffield United away. There's a good chance the two of them could be down by then as well, and nothing to play for. So I think we have the upper hand, and I also think we're a better team than Villa. I think you put the two best teams against each other, Spurs win that 8 out of 10 times.
You know what? I don't know.
Villa,
I don't know. I would have said that before.
I think the best teams, I think we are. I think if you say who can be a more consistent team, I think Villa can be a bit more consistent. I think they have a bit more.
So that
to them.
They're better though, right? If they're more consistent, they're the better team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm looking at us, and we're conceding too many goals for my liking, and we're conceding too many chances. And you look at Villa; they're scoring in bunches, and we haven't really blown a team away in a while. So right now, I would have agreed with you 4 weeks ago, but right now I'm not sure. I think Villa are the real deal, and yeah, it's gonna take some beating to beat them to fourth. In my opinion.
Yeah, Villa have only conceded 3 less than us, and only scored 4 more than us, and we've got a game
only.
less.
Yeah,
only. We go and smash Palace. We go and smash Palace on weekend 5-0, and all of a sudden we scored more goals than Villa.
Yeah, but that's a big if. We're not scoring that many goals right now. That's a big if. Like I said, a couple of weeks ago, I would have agreed with you, but I'm looking at the team and we're struggling to create quality chances, and we're struggling to score goals.
I think when you look at Villa's form, when you look at Villa's goals, their wins, their losses, their draws, same as Spurs, they're very, very similar. I think they're very similar. I mean, we've got a game in hand, so that negates it a little bit. But the reality is,
it's
if you win that game in hand, you're 2 points behind Villa. We're well banging that. Villa versus Spurs, banging it. I mean, you could just. That game's huge. That game against each other is huge, and we own one as well. We own that cash, but we, as Patrick said, we battered Villa at our place, absolutely ruined them when we lost 2-1. So we owed them for that.
I think the only thing I would say is where I do agree with Pat at the moment is that clean sheet, and whilst I agree, Mackie, the two teams are very similar. The concerning thing for me is that we haven't, again, not to be negative, we haven't really performed over the course of a good 60, 70 minute period in a game. And of course that won't come, don't get me wrong.
Hang on. Let's have it right. If perception is reality, as you two are making it out, let's call it how it is. Aston Villa went 3-0 up the other day, and Forest pulled it back to 3-2, and they hit the freaking bar or had one offside. It could have gone 3-3, and they only got a lucky goal at the end to make it 4-2. They conceded 2 goals against Forest.
I know, but
they're not well beaten at Aston Villa. Come on, man. Why are you talking Aston Villa? This is last word on Spurs.
We're not
on Aston Villa.
I'm not talking them up, but I'm just talking what's going on right now. And I look at them and I do feel right now they're the better team. And obviously, as a Spurs fan, it hurts me to say this. And some may say I'm negative, but I'm just being realistic. Do you know what I mean? Look at the table. Look at the table.
It's not realistic. It's not reality.
It is reality.
The reality is they're virtually exactly the same as us in the team. The league don't lie.
They're not. They're 5 points clear. Obviously, we've got a game in hand.
They're the same.
Yeah, but if you
Villa win against Forest, they are the same. They're 2 points in front of us with virtually the same goal difference, virtually the same goals scored, virtually the same goals against. I mean, it's virtually the same.
Lee, our last clean sheet was on December the 15th. You know that, right? That's over 2.5 months ago. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We don't keep clean sheets, but then we got to score a lot of goals. And at the moment, we are struggling to score and blow teams away and keep, so when you add all these things up, and I hope, we go into Palace and we blow them away and we batter them. But we've been saying that for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's not really happening.
Why can't we just win 1-0?
But we won't win 1-0. That's the problem. If we don't play
3-2, we're in. I tell you, What about if we win 4-2 like Villa did against Forest? Is
That's
that right?
fantastic. That's great. But we haven't done that in a while, so I can only call it as I see it. And right now, I don't go into games thinking.
I can only call it as I see it, mate. The reality of the situation is they're not. You're making out that Villa are some steam train that are like.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying right now they're better than us.
Very similar teams. I'm not having it. I'm sticking up for Tottenham. That we are right in the mixer. Right in the mixer.
We are right in the mix. I'm not saying we're not, but I'm just saying right now Villa are the better team. And you know, when you look at how they're playing as a unit, like I said, Ollie Watkins with 10 assists, Douglas Luiz running from the midfield. When's the last time one of our midfielders controlled a game?
Been a while.
Exactly.
I think reality. Yeah, I think the fact. Listen, the facts of the. All I would say with Villa is, I think the good thing what we've seen with Villa, I think, is that whenever they've gotten themselves into a position where they've had an opportunity to really kick on, like we saw at the early stage of going top, they bottled it, and you just got to hope again. You know, whilst I think Emery is really tactically astute, I think Villa. I do agree. Again, it's difficult. I think I agree with Pat. They're playing, I think, the better football at the moment. However, having said that, I think Tottenham, if they can get back to the football we've seen Spurs play and get that consistency back that we saw in the first 10 games, I don't think there's any reason why we can't kick on.
That was my point. I think again, Man United, right? They went 1-0 up after 3 minutes. Right? I'm an Aston Villa fan. Like, we're Spurs fans, right? Just pretend we're all Aston Villa fans. And now I'm looking at that game and I'm analysing that game. I'm not sitting there going, oh, we're brilliant. I'm sitting there going, we went 1-0 up. We had about 5 chances that we didn't put away. We wasted all our chances and we lost the game 2-1 to Man United. That's what I'm saying. So it's exactly what we'll be saying about Spurs. So I just think there's a bit of, not a new Patrick or a new Rick, but there's just a bit of tinted glasses or perception that the Villa are much better than us. I don't think they are. And I think if we're going into that game against Villa thinking that they're much better than us, we're going to fucking lose. And this is part of the issue.
Villa also got smoked. They got smoked by Newcastle. They got smoked by Chelsea. They got smoked by Chelsea in the FA Cup. They got beaten by a poor United team.
That's what I'm saying.
Look, I think they're there for the taking.
I'm not saying that Spurs are miles better than Villa either. I think we're very, very similar. I think it's right on the battle. I think that is the battle for the top 4 between the two teams.
Yeah, it is. But look at the last 5 games. Okay, again, just to put into context, Villa's form in the last 5, they've won 3, lost 2, it gives them 9 points, scored 13 goals, conceded 8. Our form in the last 5, we've won 2, drawn 2, lost 1. That gives us 8 points. We scored 10 goals. We conceded 9. Like, that's what I mean. We've conceded a lot. Well, we conceded 1 more goal than them and scored 3 less goals than them. So, again, I'm not saying they're much better than us, but right now they are a better team. And obviously, I don't go into any game thinking we're going to get battered and I want us to win every game. But also, when I look at how we're playing, I've got to be realistic. And if we're not blowing teams away and we're not playing the same football we did at the beginning of the season, I'm not going to go into the game against Palace and, we're going to beat them 4-1 or 4-0. Because I haven't seen that in a while.
I do agree with
so
that.
I'm just trying to, be a bit balanced. And
I think it's realism, but I think it's realistic. I mean, again, I would say again that
I think you're worried. I think Rick and Patrick, you are worried.
Do you not think we're
going to blow up like we did last year? And I want to put that into context. No, sorry, come back at me.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I don't think it's a cause to be worried based on last year. I don't think it's a cause of last year to be worried. I think it's a cause of based on our current form that I am concerned because again, at the moment, it is like that. And I appreciate, as we said, obviously on the show on Monday, that it will be like that because that is what it is like in that first season of the round. Yeah. And look, again, with Villa, to be fair to Villa, I think what they're in their obviously second season now under Emery, where obviously he's got an idea now in terms of a way of playing. And same way of Tottenham, don't get me wrong, but I think, like we've said here, I mean, there's not a great amount of difference between the two sides. Villa have built that 5-point buffer. Our game in hand is away to Chelsea. Again, it's not the greatest fixture to have in terms of the game in hand. What plays into Tottenham's hands is, of course, Villa are in European action. So again, if they were to get past Ajax or not get past Ajax, that fixture falls right in the middle of playing Tottenham, which can only be a benefit for Tottenham. But again, I think many have alluded to the fact that recently, with regards to our away form, and again, it's not to put a negative spin on it, let's be honest about it, we saw going away to Goodison how tough that was. Villa Park is going to be a really, really difficult ground to go to and get a result, despite how good our record's going to be there. But look, we're going to learn a lot about this Spurs side, I think, in the next few weeks. I think the Palace game is going to tell us a lot. We've got to now reduce a 5-point deficit, where at the same time, Villa are also in action as well. So on that day, we've just got to do our job, which we'll come on to in a second, Palace. But I think it's open, isn't it?
Give some stats around the top four, because I butted in on Patrick and went in on him. I don't mean to go on you, Patrick, by the way. It's just,
it's nothing, man. I love the fact that we can just have different opinions and we can talk it out. And it's not personal, we're just talking it out. And obviously our views are not always going to align. So it's cool.
I do think the game at Villa Park is a crucial game for sure. But let's put a slightly different take on it, right? So what Bob's done brilliantly and Patrick's done brilliantly, and what you've just talked about there as well, and obviously done brilliantly, is broken down the different teams and who's got to play who and all that sort of stuff. But let's just think about something different. I've got my panel in front of me here, right? I've got 11 Premier League seasons in front of me, right? That's what I've been looking at. And them 11 Premier League seasons, this has been the points total. I do this every season, so I just want to read it out of the blue book, all fresh, all done. Top 6, 63 points, okay? Over the last 11 seasons. Top 5, 68 points. Make sure you're listening, team. Top 4, 71. Top 3, 70 is 73.9. So I'm going to call that 74 because that's quite a lot. Top 2, 82 points. And top of the Premier League, 91 points, right? So forget the teams, who they got to play and each other and the emotion and who's got on form and all that sort of stuff. Play the table, not the fixtures. So all Tottenham have got to do, right, to get, as history tells us over the last 11 years, all Tottenham have to do is win 7 games to get the top 5. That's all we've got to do. So my question to you is, do you think Spurs can win 7 games out of their last 13?
Yeah, of course we can.
Yeah. Look at the difference now.
Yeah,
look
we can. I mean, we
look at the data. The difference is, well, yeah, of course we can. Well, there you go. Yeah. So then we're going to get top 5, regardless of what Villa does, regardless of what anyone else does. The data tells us, on average, that we will get top 5 if we win 7 games. If we win 8 games, we get top 4. So can we win 8 games out of our last 13? Can we win 8?
I think we all agree we can. Bob, do you agree we can win 8 games out of the last 13?
Yeah, I'm scrolling down here.
Have we? Like what?
Yeah, like I mean, as I said, when you have Burnley and Sheffield United, you're probably down, but as your last 2, that's 2 of the 8. Then when your next fixtures are Palace, I would have that as a win. I have Villa. Okay, we'll come back to that one.
I think you've got to beat Villa. I think you do.
I think you do. But if we're just taking bare minimum here, Fulham will win. Luton at home win. I take a win at West Ham. Win at Forest, win at Newcastle. I'm like, yeah. Do I think we
beat Arsenal at home? And we ain't losing at North London Derby either. You can come and at me at that.
I think we got to be realistic here as well. You lot are saying win.
I don't think.
Sorry, I'm saying they're all winnable.
It doesn't win. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I don't think West Ham away, no matter what season or no matter what season is again.
Take West Ham out. That's 8 wins.
Newcastle away is going to be mental. 12:30 kickoff all the way up there.
Take that out. That's 7 wins.
Then you got City, Arsenal, Liverpool.
Top 4. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, 7 wins gets you top 5.
I mean, obviously, I hope
thereabouts, isn't it? To be fair,
it's there or thereabouts.
The way you chop it up.
We're finished 4th or 5th, in my opinion. But obviously, I think that we need to beat Villa away. Obviously, that's a 6-pointer. We need to get maximum points and ensure they don't get any points. If we don't beat them away, I think, it's going to be tough. We've got some tough games. Obviously, Spurs are more than capable, but I'm just looking at recent form and just how the players have been playing. And I think the 2-week break will be great. Madison hasn't really been at it and been his usual self. I think, obviously, he's been very tired and leggy. And maybe, obviously, we may have not rushed him back, but he would wanted to come back a bit sooner.
Well, hopefully, he'll be
that's it, ready.
Now, you know what I mean? And we get the best out of him now.
Missing the 2 fullbacks against Wolves was a big blow as well. Not having the fullbacks against Wolves was massive. We saw how much of an impact that caused and cost us. And man, I don't know.
That's what I was going to say pissed, and then I've just said it anyway. But that's why I was so pissed with the performance because it was crucial in these points totals that you're looking at. Like Angelo Tira, Angelo friend, I think he's in Australia. Where do we finish if we go undefeated? Well, if we win all of our 13 games, right? If we go on a mad streak and win them all, we get our record points total of 86 points. just as in a coincidence, isn't it, that we get the record points total? But we do, and I think we're not going to do that. I'm not saying that we're going to do that, but it just puts you into context. If we get 9 wins out of 13 games, we're finished top 3 on history. And actually, if we get 6 wins, we're getting the top 6. So 6 wins gets us into the top 6, and for most of us, top 6 was fine in an Ange transitional season. And I know that will feel a bit of a drop off now, but actually, if we've got top 6, Europa League, in a transitional season, that's only 6 wins. That means we can afford to lose 7 games from this point forward. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
I mean, DTM came back to point there, third in the form table the last 2 games.
We're saying at the beginning of the season, could we? Now we're saying, are we? Are we going to lose? We're not going to lose.
I think what we need to see, Macca, to be able to answer this question at the moment is now to see the next few weeks an actual genuine run come together of that consistency. And I think, again, with the nature of the last 3-4 months, this is why I'm with Pat. I've not seen in my mind enough consistency yet to be able to convince me that we're worthy of a place in the top 4, which is a shame for me to say, because I think at the start of the
season, you just put a form table up, Rick. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is what's annoying me. You just put a form table up.
Look at the last 5. The last 5, we're third out of the 3 teams that we're competing with. In the last 5 games, Man United have got 12 points, Villa have got 9 points, and we've got 8 points. We've conceded 9 goals.
Play the game.
No. Last 5 games, irrespective of when the games were played.
Okay, fine.
Games. And we've conceded 9 goals. Villa have conceded 8. United have conceded 7. So, 10 games is okay. I'm looking at the last 5. That's a more realistic, patch of where we're at right now. So again, if we blow Palace away, then obviously we got the Villa game. Then I can.
Have you seen who Villa's got next?
Yeah, they got Man City away. Sorry, they got Luton. Apologies, that's Man United. Luton away is a toughie, but also the way, I don't know, that's a weird one. It's hard to call, innit? Because anytime the team's gone to Kenilworth Road, they've kind of struggled to get a win. All the big boys have, but then also I could see Villa smashing them. I don't.
Let me ask you guys. I want to ask a final question. I want to start with Bob before we look to Palace. Bob, bearing in mind where we are at the moment and the nature of the way the season has spun itself, would it be a massive disappointment, Bob, if we don't achieve Champions League football for 4th or 5th, regardless? If we don't get Champions League football, is that a massive disappointment in your mind?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think we have to get 4th. Otherwise, disappointment. Especially after it's like, and I know you can say, it's the start of the season, you would have taken it, and I probably said that at the start of the show, grand, but your expectations do change, and that's okay. So I think it's an absolute minimum 4th, and that's why I'd rather get 4th than get in 5th and then it fall down. I think we need to be aiming for 4th and anything lower than that. And I don't want to finish below Villa. Like, I don't. No,
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
I don't want to finish 4th.
You said it, Bob. I think on our day, if you compare the 2 teams and if Spurs are at it on the day, I think Spurs do beat Villa. It's whether we're on our A game. Yeah,
look, I think 4th's a minimum. And I get the going into the Europa League next season isn't the worst. And yeah, it's not the worst. We're Spurs fans. We went through last season. But it can build us. And look, we're seeing with Newcastle at the moment. Did they get 4th this season too soon? And then the pressure gets on how when they're probably on par this season without having that spike from last season. So yeah, and again, I'm contradicting myself sentence by sentence here, but it's not the worst case for Europa League next season, but it's a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's interesting that when you look at the swings and the merry-go-rounds of it all. I mean, Patty, you said it earlier. I mean, I actually agree with you. I for me personally, I've said this consistently. Whilst I would love the club to be back in the Champions League, hearing the music, us playing on the Tuesday, Wednesday nights, I just think Tottenham, if you're looking at it from a trophy perspective, which is what I always do, guys, you know that. I think Tottenham in the Europa League is a much more, I think we all know, winnable trophy than the Champions League. I don't think there's any harsh thing in saying that because, again, if we're a club that wants to aspire to win things, I think with Andrew, we've got a manager that would genuinely take the Europa League seriously. So, again, I know it's not what everyone would want. I mean, Patty, for you tell me, Pat, in your mind, would it be a massive disappointment now to not achieve Champions League football?
I'll look at it like this. If we finish the season strong, like Lee saying and Bobby are saying, alluding to winning 7, 8, 9 games, if we finish the season strong and we look really good, then going into the Champions League will be fantastic, because I look at the team and I'll know that when we go into the Champions League, we can perform at that level. But if we're stuttering and, messing around, and we kind of like, no one looks like they deserve it, like Villa are falling away, we're messing up, United are messing up, and we just scrape it by the skin of our teeth, then I'll kind of be, obviously I'm happy that we're in the Champions League, but I'll look at it like, realistically, will we represent well in that next season? And probably not. So I'd rather be in a competition I know we can really do well in. And obviously it's a major European honour. And if you win that, you automatically get put in the Champions League the next year anyway. So for me, it'd be a win-win. But I don't want to see us, finishing less than 4th, considering we've been essentially 4th for most of the season. I know now we're 5th. And we kind of messed up and didn't take advantage of, Aston Villa slip up. But realistically, we've been 4th or higher for most of the season. So I'd love for us to finish there, because it would be disappointing to not see that out. But then when I look at everything that we've been saying all season, new manager, basically a whole new back line, new goalkeeper, new this, new that, finishing 5th would not be any form of disappointing in that sense, when someone like myself predicted we'd finish 9th. I could name all the teams I thought would do better than us. So there's so many, it's a multifaceted question. So there's no right answer. It just depends on where your mindset's at. For me, it just depends on what we do in the summer. Do we really back Ange, I say we as in Daniel Levy, and allow him to go again? We've seen that there is quality and potential in this manager, but will Daniel Levy give him the tools to really go again? If we finish 5th and he gives him the tools to go again, then there's no reason why next year we can't contend. But it just depends on what the mindset of the actual club at the top is, because us as fans, it's all well and good finishing 4th, but if we finish 4th and just mess around again, what's the point? Like, I don't want to just see us continuously contending to beat Champions League teams and that's it. Like, we need to aim big. You know what I mean? It's about winning trophies now and really competing. Like, it's boring just fighting for 4th every year. What's the point?
I also, Pat, on that point, I think Ange, given again, not to downplay his age, I think he's here just to, as I think we heard with John on Monday, Lee, he's not here just to play for 4th. He wants to come here and win something, because otherwise, what's the point in it? I think he's made it very clear, Ange, that if he's not motivated and excited by the challenge, he's off. I mean, that's the reality of it. He wants that ambition and that desire to be there. I mean, Macca, you are one of the most optimistic Spurs fans I know. So, quite literally, if we don't achieve Champions League in your mind,
deluded, because it's not realism in it. I'm just being deluded.
No, I think the balance of the debate is there for everyone to see. It's a very interesting Villa and Tottenham site. So, in your mind, is it disappointment if we don't get that top 4 finish?
I'll be honest with you. Champions League football isn't the be-all and end-all for me either. And I actually think, I think I've said on this show many times, maybe not as much as you, but, cups are more important to me, right? In terms of FA Cup, League Cup, whatever it might be. I do agree with Bob, though, my man Bob. I don't want to be finishing below Villa, right? Only because, greatest respect, not being funny, like, we should be higher than Villa, regardless of our transitional periods and all that sort of stuff. And the fact that we're there or thereabouts with them with the game in hand stuff is testament to the job that Ange is doing. I think that there's no doubt in my mind that we can go on a run. I don't think it's unrealistic to think out the next 13 games that we can win 6, 7 or 8. I think we can. I absolutely genuinely believe that we can do that. I actually genuinely believe we can win more. I'm not going into these set of fixtures in April shitting myself like a lot of fans, because I'm going in there. This is what it's about, going and taking on the best in the hardest arenas in the Premier League and showing, can Ange ball work? Can we go and do that? And I wasn't lambasting the players after the 2-1 defeat against Villa. I wasn't lambasting the players after 2-1 defeat against West Ham. I was very disappointed. But we saw Ange ball, and it was brilliant, and we should have won the game. But I was lambasting the players after Wolves away, and I was lambasting the players in the performance after Wolves at home, because it's unacceptable to play in that way. So there's, if Ange ball turns up, and this is what Ange wants, he wants Ange ball to turn up, the players deliver Ange ball, I actually think that we can absolutely go on a run. We showed it at the beginning of the season. We've got our players back now. And as Patrick said earlier, they've been a bit ropey coming back and whatever, but maybe now they're going to start. The last 10 games is the business end of the season. Can we go on a run? Yeah, I think we can. And here's the thing, team. Yes, we have to play Liverpool. Oh, daunting. Yes, we have to play Chelsea. Right? Oh, my God, it's horrible. Yes, we have to play Arsenal. Oh, if they beat us at home. Yes, we have to play Villa. Oh, my days. But what happens if we win? What happens if we beat them? What happens if we take 3 points off City, 3 points off Liverpool, 3 points off Arsenal, 3 points off Villa?
You're killing me.
No, this is the thing, and this is for me what football's about. It's about challenging ourselves and playing it. To answer your question, I started the season before a ball was kicked, and I said that we'd finish in the top 5. I actually said we'd finish 5th. If we finished 5th, and it didn't get Champions League football, this is what it is. We've had that before, haven't we, team? When we finished 4th and we've had to end up being 5th because Chelsea won the damn competition. So maybe that's karma. Maybe 5th does get us Champions League football, and that's karma for all them years ago. Maybe it's karma for Lasagna Gate. Who knows, right? Football works in a funny way. But if we finish 4th, great. We finish 4th. It means that we've got a better points total than we did. We're 2 points higher in our points total than we were this time last season and the seasons before in a transitional season. I just want to see us give it everything, play handball the way that he wants us to play for the next 13 games. And if it gets us top 3, which is what I predicted that we would have after I got carried away, then that would be amazing. But to do that, we need 9 wins. I don't think that's realistic. But for us to get 7 wins, 8 wins, I think we can do it. So let's see how we go. I just want to see us play handball in all them games. I don't want to see Wolves performances. I want to see Aston Villa. I want to see Newcastle at home performances. I want to see Aston Villa at home performances because they're the ones, team, that you can stomach. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair. I mean, again, I think if we give everything, you can't.
You've given it a go, Rick. Would that be fair?
Yeah. I think, like you said, Lee, there was that wide acceptance that whilst there was frustration that we didn't beat Villa at home and West Ham at home, you could accept it by the fact that you saw what we were trying to do. There was a plan, and we just didn't get the goals. And again, I think
we was in the South Stand, standing ovation when we just got spanked by Chelsea 4-1, and we were all there, and we were all standing ovation. It was like, oh my days, this was amazing. Yeah. I want to see them before. I don't want to see the 4-1 loss, and I don't want to see 9 men. But I want to see the performances of absolutely going at them, going at their throat, and getting our best players on the pitch. I said this the other day, and I'll say it again quickly because I think it resonate more in this type of show. I watched the Son goals 100 Premier League goals club thing the other day, and the positions that bloke gets in, left foot, right foot, he's the best finisher in the league. He generally left foot, right foot. You don't know where he's going. Why is he being stuck out on the on the wing when actually he needs to be cutting inside and pinging a left foot or a right foot in the top corner, top bins every time? Have shots, team. Have a look at the stats. We were first in touches in the opposition box, first in shots, first. We're not first there anymore. That's the drop off. Yes, defense is an issue, but John, we heard it from the man himself the other day. John, who's studied and worked with Ange and wrote the brilliant book Revolution, he will be blaming the defense on the attack because the attackers aren't doing their job properly enough so that we can get the transitions and we can do it quick. And actually, when you start looking at the way we've played to back up what Patrick and Bob was saying earlier as well about maybe part of our form. That's the reason why we haven't had that fluidity of that turning and then trick. Where's Basuma in the first 10 games of the season? Where's he gone? Do you see where I'm coming from? Like that quick turnover, it's dropping the shoulder, taking 3-4 players out with one move. That's not been happening. So, and I think that's a fluidity. I think that's people coming back from the Africa Cup of Nations, from Asia Cup, from injury. And we've now got, hopefully, a run without Sessegnon, of course, we spoke about before. Even Solomon's back. Even Solomon's coming back. I mean, the last game he played, he got 2 assists. I mean, you could not make this stuff up. So you have a look at Arsenal's form, the way that their form, all of a sudden, they've just been blowing teams away, scoring goals. Saka had less goals than Decky. And in the last 6-7 games, Saka's just blown him away. He's now got 13 Premier League goals now, Saka has. Just what I mean? So it's players coming into form at the right time. And I think hopefully Arsenal peaking too early, as they did last time. And hopefully for us, we get the last kind of 10 games. It's the last 10 games. Even Pat said the last 5 games. If we won our last 5 games of the season, from a form perspective, that would give us 15 points from where we are. That'd give us 62 points. We're virtually top 6 just if we won our last 5 games.
Yeah.
Plus Alice if we beat them. So do you see what I mean? It's like it's a tough one. And I know I've been a bit kind of, shouting a bit rah tonight, but part of that is a frustration because I do agree with Pat and you, Rick, that we haven't been playing at our best. So there's my frustration coming out in that. But equally as well, I want us to get behind the team because I was embarrassed to be in the South Stand against Wolves and Wolves fans singing back at us, "Oh, when the Spurs." It was a low point. It's a low point for me.
Bob, come in there for
Ricky,
me.
can I just pop back in there?
Go for it.
Just 2 quick points on 4th or 5th or Champions League, Europa League. Europa League's only a better option if you go and win it. Europa League and getting to the quarterfinals or semi-finals isn't worth shit.
It's got to be taken seriously. There was no point. I totally agree.
Then the other thing, being Irish, and I know there's a few Irish people in the comments here, we're surrounded by United fans who are rubbish, Liverpool fans, predominantly. If I hear one more Spursy, bloody Spursy over there, if we're top of the league after 10 games and don't finish top 4, we won't hear the end of it. I'm sorry. And I know you shouldn't care about what other fans think.
No, you're right.
Part of it. And I just can't put up with this.
Yeah.
It's just such an easy target if we don't. And then you look at like Stephen Keane, I know, manager of mine in the comments here, Spurs man, says about the midfield being unsettled. It's been, we use the term transitional season. It's been a transitional season. It's been a disjointed season. And then that's just led to it being unsettled. And the midfield at the moment, we've been getting overrun. But we've had players off, Sarr, with Basuma off. Basuma hasn't been good since he got sent off against Luton that time. Then what happened the week after that? The 2 boys at the back go. Basuma comes back in. His 2 buddies at the back aren't there from the same distribution to him. Then he's off. Then he gets sent off again. Fair enough. I'm not defending that. It was brain dead. But Basuma hasn't had any sort of, settled, not just midfield around him, but 2 centre halves at the background. So I think you could put a little bit of Basuma down to that. I think, look, Basuma can be, I think, his own worst enemy at times, the way he plays. But I'll give him a bit of a pass on it. And I'd like to see him get a run in that 6th row without being a spreadsheet football fan. I'd like to see him in that holding midfield row because I know what he can do there. But with the 2 boys behind him, for a period of 2, 3, 4 games.
Look, again, I agree with you a lot on that, Bob. I mean, I think the thing is, whilst we have said Maddison's come back and, again, Bentancur's come back, I think what we've got to realise is that these guys are not at the fitness and freshness level they were, obviously, when they're playing to their peak optimism. And I think, again, that is really crucial now for these players to bed back in and find their best one. Because when they do, there's obviously no doubt about it, Spurs can be a wonderful team on their day, as they've showed us during periods of this season. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners and audio. I told Bob off air, won't it be an hour? We're doing a preview show. Both Lee and Pat turned around to him and said, absolute no chance. I did not think the top 4 battle was going to be an hour of the show. I mean, but
it's been a good debate, man. It's been a good debate.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. Look,
from all angles
it's real, isn't it? It's real.
And
right,
Rick, you'll love this. Conor Gallagher just scored a 90th minute winner for Chelsea. So Poch marches on, so he might win a cup. Yeah.
Oh,
you never know.
No, they won't win the cup. No way.
You know what? Again, when you're recording FA Cup week, just again it affects the. Again, it all comes back. We're not going to go there.
Why is the whole of the 5th round of the FA Cup in midweek?
Bizarre.
What does it come to, man? These should be 3 p.m. kickoffs on a Saturday. Not that we're in it, but it should.
Well, can I just say, if they were, that would spark up another debate. That Villa would be 6 points with us. I would even go to that further, that debate. So I'm glad we're not going there. Right, Palace to come. I will just say, taking you into that break, you're going to hear from the wonderful Dan over at HLTCO. Obviously, very, very prominent on the Twitter. Dan, obviously, great over there and what he does for Palace. So we've got him previewing that game for us, for our listeners on audio. Right, Palace to come for Spurs, of course, on Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff. Back to business. Huge game for Tottenham in the context of their season. Andy Costa, bless him, did tell us beforehand it is that manager bounce that Palace will need, and they've got into Oliver Glasner. He got off the mark last week with a comprehensive 3-0 win over Burnley at Selhurst Park. He's off to the perfect start. Again, this game for Spurs will be another test. I think we can all safely say every game at home is a battle. And again, and what I will start off by saying, Bob, I'll actually start with you on this one, is that I think we'll definitely be playing a different type of Palace side that it would have been if it would have been under Roy, just given the nature of the two different managers. You've got Glasner that does play a much more free-flowing, attacking, expansive brand of football, whereas Roy, I think, as we discussed off air in the green room, probably would have put 10 men behind the ball. Lee referenced he would have put the coaches behind the ball as well and said, break us down. I mean, what type of Palace side are we facing, Bob, for you on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, look, it's a tough one to say when we haven't seen too much of the manager. I don't watch too much German Bundesliga. I'm not going to pretend to have seen a lot of them other than, the odd game of the Europa League. Having done kind of a bit of, I suppose, reading up on a couple of athletic articles there today, 3-4-3 apparently he's religious about, quite compact, which leads me to maybe think we might get a bit of space out wide for say Kulusevski, Werner, Son, whoever's out there. I know we might be discussing that going forward. But there could be a bit of space out wide with how compact he plays in midfield. If it's the case, I suppose he does play the 3-4-3, or I don't know how, Conte knows more 5-2-3, or whatever, 5-4-1 at times even. I think an early goal for us is crucial, because otherwise, I suppose the more and more, and I know he plays this attacking football in comparison to Roy, but if he's away to Spurs at 60 minutes in, they're still at 0-0, I think they'll start to sit a little bit deeper and hang on for that point. So I think an early goal is crucial against teams like Palace, no matter how free-flowing they play. So that they do have to come at you a bit. They do have to open you up. What I would worry about is, they say, and this is, I was really looking at, I don't know if anyone saw Jesse Marsh talking about him. I'm not sure if Jesse Marsh is the person to be listened to about football, but look, Premier League manager, I guess, knows a bit more than me. But he is quite fast, aggressive, kind of, and direct in the transition, which might make us worry a little bit about the high line we play. There might be, I suppose, players getting in behind. So it's a guessing game without, again, feeling like I'm not giving too much insight or anything to it, because, look, I'm just a fan like the rest of us. But player for player, we're a better team. We should be going to beat Palace at home. Palace away was probably the last time I've relaxed as a Spurs fan.
I agree. Yeah,
probably is. Probably our last time we've had a game that, I know they scored late, but after we scored the second, we were kind of could take that deep breath. I actually got engaged the next morning after it, though, so I wasn't that relaxed. I was sitting with a bottle of wine, just thinking, "Jesus."
Oh, yeah, well done, bro. Well done.
Yeah. So that anyway. So I mean, that's when our form went downhill. But look, I'm not saying anything. But relax about the footballing side of things. So yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see how they set up with Glasner. Is Glasner, am I saying it right? Glasner, in comparison to Roy. But I do think if we get to 60 and it's 0-0, they are going to sit a little bit deeper. I did text a mate of mine who is a Palace fan today. He's like, give me something. And I mean, he's a doctor with 2 young kids. I didn't hear anything back, so we're still waiting on that text. He'll probably text me just as we finish here. But yeah, so what the other thing is, look, I know. Look, I let him away with it. He's scared. He's coming to the weekend, but obviously they're missing Eze, Elise, and Wehi as well is apparently out too.
Yeah.
So 3 key players. So look, we should have enough. And look, we've made all the excuses earlier on this season about key players missing. And we were making these excuses and so on. But if you took our 3 players out of the team, which we saw earlier in the season, how much we struggle. With Eze, Elise, and Wehi, I think they're their 3 best players. So yeah, I think we should be beating them. And I know Lee's always been saying for the last God knows how long, Lee, that we're due a big win. And I think if we can score an early goal, I think we can go and get 3 or 4. So that's my prediction.
I need a wig at 9-1. Come on.
Oh man. Well, that would definitely have racked up the goals that we've been saving. I tell you. I'm going to go Patty down. I'll close with Lee. Before we do, Bob, let's get your prediction for Palace. What are you going to go for, Palace wise?
I'm make my debut here. I'm going 4-0 Spurs. Early goal.
Bobby Dwyer, talk to me. 4-0, baby.
Looking for a callback.
Unrealistic, man.
Right, Pat, now bring us back down to earth, mate, with the reality, yeah? Because we need to bring some balance here.
I'm
joking. Patty, let me come to you. Look, Palace, to be fair to them, they've actually struggled against the stronger teams in the division. Their recent away results include a 5-0 defeat to Arsenal, a 4-1 defeat to rivals Brighton. As Bob alluded to they're without, as things stand, Michael Elise, Rob Holding, Cheek the Crows just on a new deal for them. Jesserin Raksaki as well. I think, as we've mentioned as well, there's Bob picked up on Mark Gay. He looks like he's out for a minimum of 8 weeks. He's their most prominent centre half, really key for them. Joachim Anderson went off early against Burnley, but Glasner has since hinted that was more a precautionary measure, so he may be back. It's important for me to suggest that Eberechi Eze made the game come too soon for him after a recent thigh problem, along with Will Hughes. So, I mean, Pat, where do you see this game for you in your mind? How do you feel about it? With the fact that, as well, as we mentioned earlier in the show, Udogie is expected to be back. Pedro Porro was still waiting on news. And Manor Solomon, again, we'll get an update from Ange on Friday in the presser.
I mean, on paper, you would think it would be a comfortable win, and I'm hoping it will be. But just with the way we've been playing recently, I think it would be a bit more edgy and a bit more twitchy than we would all probably like. Lee made a good point about the new manager. He'll probably be more gung-ho than Roy Hodgson would have been. Roy Hodgson wouldn't want to get battered and will set them up quite defensively and resolute. We don't know much about Glasner yet. We need to see what he's going to do. Obviously, I think they beat Burnley 3-0, didn't they? So that was a nice start for him. But obviously, Burnley are, unfortunately, they're awful this year. Burnley and Sheffield United look like they're already done. They already got down and out. So it's not a great litmus test. But, you know, when I look at the team and obviously they're missing their 3 best players, that is definitely a positive for us. Yes, you always want to see the best players on the pitch, but realistically, when you're playing against them, you don't. Let's be honest. You'd rather, you know, not play against game changers like Eze and Elise, who are fantastic and always can do the unexpected. And Gahey is a quality centre-back. So, you know, but Edouard is coming to his own recently. He scored quite a few goals. And Ayew, even though he's not great, he always seems to win fouls, pop up here and there, get assists, get key goals. So he's someone that we're going to have to watch out for. But all in all, I do expect us to beat them. I'm hoping that this is the game where we start to see the re-emergence of the Ange ball and the Spurs that we all love, the swashbuckling Spurs side, creating chances, scoring goals. I'm not going to go too crazy. I don't think that we're going to keep a clean sheet because we haven't in such a long time. So I'll probably go for a 3-1. But a solid 3-1, like a comfortable game where we're not really still at the edge of our seats on the 89th or 90th minute. You know, because a lot of the games that we've won recently, even though we've won them, we're still worried. We're still worried in injury time. You know what I mean? Yeah,
we're literally on our edge of our seats.
Yeah, literally. I don't want to see that, man. A 3-1 where we're comfortably, we know the game's done. Cool. It is what it is. You know, it's a shame because Bob made a good point about Basuma, but I thought Basuma's been okay in the last 2 games, but because of performances elsewhere, it's not really, you know, been picked up. Kulusevski looked good for the goal. I want to see him dominating and controlling games again. And I want to see Maddison. He's had good moments like that ball with the outside of his foot and moments here or there, but I want to see the James Maddison of the earlier season where he's getting, you know, player of the month, controlling games, dictating play, picking up the ball, moving around. And I just want to see, to be fair, our defensive, I still feel that we probably got the best centre-back partnership in the league. I know statistically it's not going to look like that, but when you look at the players and how they play together and how they actually move the ball around and all of that stuff, but I just want to see them now coming into their own. And we've allowed Vicario to save our bacon on a lot of moments and a lot of games, and I just don't want to see him put under so much pressure. So a bit more of a comfortable game, a 3-1. I'll take it all day long, but a more comfortable 3-1.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I do. Sorry, Rick. I just want to come in if I may, Rick, if that's okay. I mean, Pat, you make such a good point about the defensive partnership because statistically it doesn't look like they are the best, but there's something about the way they play. I'll take you back to the first 10 games. Statistically, that was Mickey van der Ven played his first Premier League game after a day's training session. Right? He's never played in the league before. The first 10 games, when we had that Vicario and then that back 4 that we will want to see again on Saturday, we conceded 0.9 goals per game in the first 10 games. That's what, to your point earlier, Pat, about conceding too many goals, etc.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. But equally, what we were scoring at the time was 2.6 goals per game, and we're still scoring 2.6 goals per game on average during the last 10. But we've let in way more than that, and that's been the issue. So statistically, it won't say that they are an excellent defensive partnership, but we all can see it with our own eyeballs, right?
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, Rick, if I be so bold on mine, was you going to come to me or because I interrupted
I was,
you?
Bud. I was. I think what I will just say, and you take it away after this, I just think going into the Villa game after this, I think we can't have anything more than a win. We have to win this. I think going into Villa, we have to have that confidence. I do, again, not to go back to that was an hour debate, but we have to, I think, win this game. I think fairly, as Pat said there, fairly comprehensively, and Bob's obviously put his prediction out there. We need to go and beat Villa and beat Palace and beat them well going into Villa the week after, Macca.
Yeah, for sure. So this is my take on it. I think we've had 2 weeks off, and I think sometimes that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I think the way that it hurt us as fans, the performance, I think that would be really hurting and eking out on nice one, John. Rick knows what you're saying, but you do, mate. But at the end of the day. I think the players will be hurting that. We've had some time on the training pitch. He's got them around. Hopefully the 2 fullbacks are fit. Now, here's the thing about stats and whatever, but I know they're not the be and end all, but I want to put some context around the 3-0 result because most of us don't watch Crystal Palace versus Burnley. So let me just put some context around it, people, so you can start looking forward to Saturday rather than dreading it. Okay, so on the 35th minute, right, of a football match between Crystal Palace and Burnley, who Pat rightly just said they're already done. Right, Burnley are already done. So they're 35 minutes in. They get a red card. Yeah, breaking news, everybody. They were down to 10 men, Burnley were. And Crystal Palace only had 1 shot on target the whole first half. And they were playing against 10 men. So it was a 10 men, wide open Burnley for 10 men in the second half. And to be fair to Palace, they got their goals. They got 2 quick goals. In fact, they got 3 quick goals like we did against Brentford. 68, 71, 79. Bang, bang, bang. They got their goals. The game was over. So I just want to put a little bit of context into that as well. In terms of passing, in terms of possession, in terms of, shots, that type of thing, against Burnley, who had 10 men, they only had like 100 more touches than them and only like 70 more passes than them. So it just goes to show you, yes, they got the result and all that sort of stuff, but we're trying to work out what type of team we're going to be playing, right? That was my point. We're still going to be playing a team that is going to sit back, in my opinion, and soak up some of the pressure against Spurs. Having said that, it's going to be a second game in charge, and they are buoyed with a 3-0 win. A result's a result. It was a fantastic win for them, and they're coming a little bit buoyed. So they're coming on a bit of a crest of a wave. New manager bounce, as Ant says. We're coming away from oh my gosh, we've been beaten by Wolves pretty comprehensively. Let's be honest about it in terms of shots on target and all that sort of stuff. So we're going a bit worried. But I do believe that we will become our swashbuckling side again. I do believe that, I think sometimes every so often there's a result that gives you a bit of a kick up the backside. And I think that Wolves performance, not the results, sorry, the performance, what was that kick up the backside. So I'm actually going to go that we're going to start scoring goals. You can't keep goals out of his team. Yeah. Son's back. Richarlison's still in decent form. He's had a couple of drop-offs. Vernon's due a goal. Brennan Johnson's in the back post. Maddison's scoring goals. We've got to score some goals. So I think it's going to be a lot. I think this is going to be the one that's going to kick on our really good run, and I think we're going to beat them 4-1.
Who's your front three, Mac? Let me ask you, who you boys at? Your front three, Mac?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I have to be honest. Like I've backed Richie and I like Richie, and I doubled down and tripled down on Richie. I think right at the beginning when he wasn't doing much.
I think you quadrupled down him towards the end.
I quadrupled down on him. Yeah, to be fair, I do get a little grief on it, but to be fair, he come good and he was doing some good stuff. What I think, I don't know if this is true, but from a mentality perspective, in the Premier League, right, if you drop off by, let's just say 1%.
Yeah, it's true.
If you drop off by 1%, you're gonna get found out. And I think Son coming back into the team, a little bit like when Kane used to come back into the team, people around him have gone, don't worry, Son's back. And all it's taken is Richie to drop off 1%, and that's now affecting his performances. And I could be wrong, but that's what it felt like.
That's so, again, yes.
So it's really interesting because it is fine margins at this top level. The Premier League is so elite compared to other leagues, right? You don't go and get and play in League 1. You go and play a team called Brest, and generally they are called Brest. And you go and play them, you go and smash them like 9-0. It doesn't work like that in the Premier League. We all know that. So 1% drop off, and I think maybe that's where Richie is. part of me wants to stay with Richie because he's been good. He's been a number 9, and I think he's due a goal. But the other part of me wants to see Son in them areas where he can be absolutely devastating. I remember being away. Sorry about this, Rick. I'm going to talk about the FA Cup. We went away to Preston last season. FA Cup, was it the 3rd round or the 4th round? I can't remember. We went away. I was in the away end, obviously, and Sonny was on the bench, and he was having a bad season. When he come off the bench, he just pinged one, and then he come off the bench again. Didn't he? He scored a hat trick against Leicester, and he just ping. We need Sonny in them positions. I just don't think it enables him on that so wide left. You know, is it left forward? No problem, but so wide left.
Yeah, I do agree. You lose him.
I actually can't answer your question, Rick, who my front three is. I don't know. I think it would be Kulusevski, Son, and Richarlison. Even though I've just said, I'm not sure whether Son should play down the middle, but he needs to drift in more and let. The thing is, we play with inverted fullbacks, right? So they don't really go on the overlap. And we know that Ange likes to play wide. Sorry, Rick, I know it's a long answer, but it's a hard one.
It's a tricky one. It's tricky.
I would definitely play Decky, and I would definitely play Son. I think I'd play Richarlison as well, to be honest.
Okay, it's interesting. Bob will come to you, then we'll go to Pat to close. Bob, who's your front three for Saturday? You same?
I got Kulusevski, Richie, Son. And then you have the two boys in Werner and Johnson with a bit of pace when the game opens up a little bit towards the end.
Okay. Kind of saying, I think me and you, Pat, have been a mirror image for the show. Everything you say, I'm nodding down. Yep. It's been one of those shows where we've been very much in agreement with a lot of what's said. Pat, what are you going for your front three?
Yeah, funny. I don't know if you're going to agree with me in this one because I'm agreeing with the boys. I totally agree with what Lee and Bob said, but funny enough, I want Son down as a number 9 again. Son was fantastic when he was a 9. Obviously, for me, he's the best finisher in the league, one of the best finishers in Europe. And like you said, he's kind of wasted out on the left wing. He's not as agile and as quick as he used to be in terms of taking a man on. So we don't need to see that in his game when we've got people that are better than that, in my opinion. But in terms of finishing, movement around the box, running off the shoulder, the last man, he's excellent. One of the best out there right now. So let's see Sonny in the areas where he's going to kill teams and hurt them the most. So Son down the middle, Kulusevski on one side, Richarlison on the other. They can interchange in the game. Exactly. Depending on what's going on. They're all smart enough and intelligent enough to read the game. So if obviously a defender's cheating or not doing what they need to do, then cool, interchange. But that's the front three I want to see. And Bobby said it perfectly. Then you got Werner and Johnson to come on and cause the team problems when they get in leggy. I think if we go back to basics and stick with that formula, we'll blow most teams away.
Is there any time I was going to agree with Pat? I was only going to say I think, giving Werner an opportunity to get goals. I think the guys look, for me, so devoid of confidence in front of goal. I feel like this is a game where, again, opportunity.
Rick, we're not a charity shop though. We need to go and win the games, man.
I agree, but I think I'm beginning to wonder. Again, I don't want to bring the mood down with Werner. I think his pace can be really vital, but he's so devoid of confidence that I think if he could get a goal to kind of, lift him a little bit, because I think the thing that really frustrated me against it was the game at Brighton. Again, 3 or 4 times in the left-hand side of the first half, just couldn't beat that man. I just wonder whether a game like this is an opportunity to have Richie on the bench, bring him on to give him the confidence where, again, comes off the bench, has got to prove himself again, which we saw really when he got into the form with it, was coming off the bench to really do that. But, again, to be fair, on the basis of, in terms of form and the recent form, you'd probably say the front three you guys have selected are probably the right ones to start the game. And as Bob says there, when that game goes later on and we want to obviously, replace players with pace, it's there for it.
Change thing though, right? I say it every week to people. I sit around on the WhatsApp group with Pat and everything, right? And with everyone else, like what Pat just said. And I don't see that enough. I'm pretty certain that Ange's tactics are, what you need to do, but it's up to you for the feel of the game to work out.
To know what you're doing. Totally
I've heard him say that, and actually, we've been so rigid in the formation against Wolves, for example. When did Kulusevski go left and Son go right? As an example, when did Richie go left and Son go down the middle for a 10-minute spell? They just didn't do it. When did, as an example, I know we played with inverted fullbacks, but when did we at 5 or 6 for an 8-minute spell just let Emerson just stay as a right back just for a bit? Do you know what I mean? Not invert and see if there's more space that opens up. we just didn't do it. And I think that caused the issues with the performance that we had. You see where I'm coming from? I want to be able to see. If I'm a defender and I just know that every time Son gets the ball, he's going to run to the byline and try and have a go, I'm actually all right with that, especially if I'm a team playing low block. The reason why teams play low blocks, correct me if I'm wrong here, team, is because they want you to go out wide. They want you to go out wide and swing balls in because they will defend them because they've got 400 people in the box.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. See, and we talk about lock pickers. Madison wasn't picking in no locks the other day. But again, getting your players in that position. If Son can get a yard just outside the 18-yard box, a bit of a space in the yard, he can ping top bins. Madison can do it. Kulusevski can do it from the right. We're just not doing that as a team. Like, are we, guys, viewers, listeners? We're not having enough shots. And go back to shots on target. To have 4 shots on target against Wolves, it's not good enough. You need to be having 9 or 10 shots on target, and you will start scoring 3 or 4 goals. If you know you're going to let in 2 or 3 a game, like on average at the moment it's about 2. If you're letting 2 in a game, then ultimately you've got to be having 9 shots on target to score 3 or 4. That's just math. That's just normal. And so you have to affect the game at the front in order to to affect the game at the back. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I mean, again, I think Saturday's game, I put it like this for me, I think goes a long way to setting the rhythm for the rest of the campaign now. I think it's such a big game in the context of the season. As you mentioned, to come after it, Spurs need to win it.
Rick? Come on, don't get away with this. I think
it will be a close game. I think it'll be a 2-1 Spurs win. I think it will be nervy. I think it will be. I just go back to the way we're playing at the moment. I think Glasner going in there will make Palace hard to beat, and Palace will come to Tottenham, given their horrendous record at the ground. They'll want to put that right. This will not be an easy game. I think it will be tight. I think it will be close, but I think Spurs will edge it, and I think that edge will be really, really important to setting us up for, as I keep on saying, the business stage of the season. Guys,
can I just say, you talk about that record just quickly before we finish. 29 played, right, between Spurs and Palace. Total wins for Palace 4. Home for Palace 3. A 1 away win in 29 games played. 1. I mean, I might be joking. I
could just say, Anthony Costas just said to me, who has let Macca read that one out?
That one's for you, Ant.
Tell you, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. Let's hope we win it well. Can I say, Bob, what a debut, my man. Love it to have you join us, mate. We'll have you back on with us as soon as we can. Bob, thank you so much. Where can we find you across the socials, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it there. Bobby Dwyer 1989. I said that one pretty quickly. Bobby Dwyer 1989 on Twitter, Instagram, whatnot.
And in the south, mate, it is an addiction.
And the south, yeah.
It's an addiction. This guy comes over from Ireland. He gets on the plane. He gets over. He lands in Stansted. He comes to the game. He has a few beers. He watches the game. He goes back again. And then he does it again. This guy is well done, man.
Yeah, I'm keeping Ryanair's share price up, Lee.
You are.
Coming over. So, yeah. I know. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it. So, couldn't have done it with a better bunch.
Just an easy one, Bob, to ease you in with. An hour and a half later. Bob, thank you so much, my man. Been a pleasure. Patty, thank you, mate, as always. I actually got to say, Patty, I watched you the other week. A couple of days ago on the Football Terrace defending us, mate, on there. So, loved your work, mate. It's the thing now, Pat. It's the one game a week, mate. We're missing you on here. So,
I know,
we need the European football for that alone, mate. Thank you so much.
You know what's crazy as well? Yeah, obviously we're 5th at the moment, and we've not been playing the greatest of football, with all due respect. Every Spurs fan will agree. But when I see some of the disingenuous takes, and even Chelsea fans trying to chuck it at us, I'm like, nah, come on. And you know what's funny as well? Without digressing, because Pochettino is so bad now, they're trying to rewrite history and say Poch wasn't a good manager when he managed us. I'm like, really? Like, the Poch you're seeing now is not the same Poch we saw. Thank God as well, by the way, because, anyway, I digress. But it's been a pleasure, and Bobby, it's been great jumping on the stream with you. Quality guy, good takes. You got to spell your screen name out, because people listening on the audio are not going to be able to understand what you said, with all due respect. So you got to spell it out so they can follow you.
Am I going for that now then, am I?
Go for it.
Keeping the string
Stage is yours. Yeah. Stage is yours, my man.
So it's my name, Bobby, Bobby, Dwyer, Dwyer, and then 1989, so 1989.
There you go. So yeah, go follow him, man. He's a great guy. Honestly, he's great on X, great on Twitter, great on Instagram, and yeah, man. Follow him, my peoples.
I got to say, Pat doing the PR agency there for Bob, making sure you can check him out on the socials there. And like I say, really enjoyed it. Patty, thank you so much. Bob, thank you. Macca, thank you, mate. Again, big week in store for Tottenham. Crunch time coming up. Macca, time to perform, right? Time to perform.
4-1 win, boys. Don't you even worry about it. We're going down there. We are getting back to proper winning ways, having that stadium freed from desire right at the end. It's a nightclub, mate. It is a nightclub. You want a fortress? We're giving it a nightclub.
Let's hope we're doing that at full time on Saturday. Guys, thank you so much for your support. 1,000 plus of you watching us live across, I think, LinkedIn now. We're on Twitter. We're, of course, on Facebook, on Instagram too. And, of course, the YouTube. Thanks so much for your support from Macca, from Bob, from Patrick, from me. We've been the Last Word on Spurs. We'll see you Saturday. Keep safe, keep well. And, as always, come on, you Spurs.